Hey, Tim, Ryan's not going to be able to make it either.
Gotcha.
I'll speak on his behalf.
Okay, great. Welcome, everybody. We have everybody filtering in here. I'm going to give it a few minutes. We've got a full house tonight. Watch the participants. Welcome, welcome. Alliance webinar, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or 8 o'clock, depending on where you're at. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Everybody's filtering in right now. We'll go through some of the house rules and get their everything set up. If you're just joining us, you will be able to chat with each one of the presenters. You'll also be able to ask Q&A questions as well. We'll get to the format in just a couple of minutes when everybody's taking their seats here. It's about 1 minute after the hour. We're going to start in about 2 minutes here.
We've got some good national representation on our attendees. I like it.
It's growing strong, almost over 200 now. I feel like NASA. The 200 and counting.
Could be an auctioneer.
All right. I actually was at some point. I'll tell you that story.
Hi, Krista.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Appreciate
Welcome.
us.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect. We're going to give a couple more minutes here. For those of you that haven't been on a webinar before, you are the attendees and you'll be able to communicate via the Q&A if you have questions. We ask that you hold those questions and you ask those on the topics that we're speaking about. We'll have an open Q&A at the very end of it. Your question will either be answered in handwritten type form, or we'll address it live, or turn on your mic, let you ask it potentially, or bring you into the panel. So be ready for any of those. In any event, we're going to do our best to hold us to 60 minutes. Be respectful of everybody's time, especially where it's 9 o'clock on the East Coast there. We're going to do our best to answer every single question that comes in. The webinar will be taped and will be sent out tomorrow. So as I see, we still got some people coming in. I'm going to start out with a little video here. We're about 3 minutes after the hour. We've got about 215 people. So I'm gonna give it another minute, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start off a video if anybody wants a lead-in song or dance.
It's your walk-up song.
What's your walk-up song?
Just to intro this for everybody too, we felt that it was a good opportunity to share our story via a video, because we have a lot of passionate people on here, and thought the video would be a little bit shorter. So it's breaking. We haven't released this yet.
You know, I'm gonna give a couple more minutes, because I think the way the webinar works is it puts everybody in alphabetical order. It looks like it's letting them in batches. So we're at 228, 230 and counting. Anybody have any jokes? Don't make me unmute you. All right. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start this here. We'll check the video and sound.
Think about how often we hear the term, it's all about the kids. But those of us that have been in the industry all realize that it doesn't take very long before the kids and the players are the third party in the equation.
It's important to me to talk about the why, right? Really, why would the Alliance even have to come about?
There was something missing in our sport. So as we put the Alliance together, we put the contributions of many really good people all over the country.
During COVID, we saw these regional leagues pop up. What that's done is that's brought together coaches, that's brought together athletes, and not just youth athletes. It's starting to bring together the generations of athletes. It's brought together associations.
Coaches to tournament directors, event coordinators. We didn't just take a bunch of travel coaches because we wanted to expand it. We wanted to be broader than that.
We felt like if we could figure out a way to bring all the leagues together under one umbrella, which is the Alliance, that we could help build and grow the sport even more.
And I just think it's a great opportunity to start building that infrastructure so we can pour all of our resources back into the game and back into the athlete.
We want the Alliance to be a year-round support system.
I see it as absolutely huge. I see it as the next logical evolution of Fastpitch.
When we talk about leveling the playing field, everybody gets to start here. It doesn't matter what name I have. It doesn't matter where I'm from, what part of the country. What matters is that I go out and earn it. And that's what I think we're all about, because we're competitors.
You know, how cool will it be when all of our leagues are tied together and there's a national stats leader and you hear little Jenny Jones in Biloxi, Mississippi is leading the country in home runs, right? And she plays for the Biloxi Blues. Whoever that, I don't know if the Biloxi Blues is a real team, but it is.
They are now.
They are now. Somebody's going to name their team the Biloxi Blues.
I think there's a huge need for this. It's in other sports. You see it in every major sport that there is, professional sport.
The guys that are in this room, you know, the Bat Busters and the Bombers and the Firecrackers, they're plotting against themselves, really, right? They're leveling the playing field. And so they're really only doing this to really be good for the player, right? That's the amazing thing about it, is that, you know, if you were to draw up a pure business plan, it wouldn't be do the Alliance. It would be keep building your successful travel ball organization because you get the berths, you get all these things and keep doing those things. That's the opposite of what these guys are doing. They're building a plan to level the playing field, which is amazing. So each one of these guys is really taking money out of their own pocket and redistributing it to you know, make softball a better place.
And oftentimes people look at this and just say, it's just another way. They're just trying to gouge us some money. It's anything but. We won't allow that. We're not going to be a part of that. And we're going to participate in the development of our sport. And that's what the Alliance is about.
And we have a choice. We can continue to be where we're at and create our own success, or we can reach out and start to help the others. We often use the term haves and have-nots, and the have-nots in this industry have the hardest time positioning their families and their teams where they need to be so that they can deliver their service.
So I think that's probably maybe the neatest thing about the whole thing is everyone's on level playing field now.
If it wasn't needed, we wouldn't be doing it. And so I'm a person amongst other people that are just basically joining the cause of doing what needs to be done for our industry.
That's something that was a little bit surprising to me, that these guys are fierce on the field and still are to these days, but on a call, in a meeting, they'll be, you know, overly respectful of each other.
It's about unity, it's about collaboration, and I think we're really on to the path of greatness here.
All right, excellent.
All right, and hi everybody, and welcome. I'm excited to do this. Obviously, if you get to watch that video, this is what I've got to experience for the past 2 months, probably longer than that, and just to see the passion. And I know we get a lot of questions. Everybody on here has gotten a ton of questions, and which is a good thing because people want to know what this is all about. So really, we're here today to introduce ourselves, to tell you a little bit more about who you are. We've been trying to get information out, and then to answer questions. And that's the biggest goal today, because that's the biggest goal of what we're trying to do when we talk about collaboration. I'm Jamie Lowprice, newly appointed, I guess, executive director of the Alliance. And I'm really excited to just share with you guys. If you look on the screen, you see people that were in the video, you see people that weren't in the video, you see a lot of people that traditionally compete against each other, whether it's from a team level, an association level, an organization level. Even Tasha and I used to compete against each other as athletes too. But this is what's fun, is that we're changing a culture here. And you guys heard it on the video, that even a lot of the people that have stepped up and given a lot of time into this, they have the most to lose in a sense. but they're so passionate about the common goal of moving our sport forward. For some reason, the video didn't capture it, but in that video, I truly think our sport can be the #1 women's sport in the country. I think from a team sport stance, you see it at the college level. And I think we're onto something at the youth level that's really needed. As Tony said in the video, we wouldn't be doing this if there wasn't a need. And there's been a lot of really passionate people. And I can tell as we've got, 300 attendees, there's a lot more of us too. And that's the goal here, to share the story. So I'll quit talking for right now. And I'd like to just have, we have a lot of panelists. And so I'd like, if you guys can go in order and just introduce yourselves really quick. Tony.
That starts with me. Okay. Tony Rico, I'm an Alliance member and the Deputy Commissioner of the California Fastpitch League.
Hi, I'm Scott Smith. I'm a Deputy Commissioner and I'm part of the Texas Fastpitch League.
Hi, Natasha Watley, 2-time Olympian and part of the Alliance as well, an Alliance member.
Hello, I'm Tim Gorman. I'm part of the Alliance Fastpitch and the California Fastpitch, the financial director. And then I'll speak for Travis. Travis is out with his sister-in-law. I think she's having birth right now. So Travis is the Alliance Fastpitch events organizer.
Hi there. My name is Jeremy Goldberg. I'm the president of League App and honored to be here as a technology partner and strategist for the Alliance.
Hi, I'm Mike Stiff, and I'm the commissioner of the CFL, and obviously the president of the Batbusters. And this is just an incredible honor for me to be on this. And I look forward to answering questions. I'm doing my thing right now, so I'll keep muted so it stays quiet. But it's an honor to be here, and I hope we can answer all those questions you guys may have.
Whitney Jones is not on here. Whitney's actually helping. She's a facilitator, a coach with Athletes Unlimited, which is pretty cool. Whitney played at University of Washington, and we're actually in communication about the Pacific Northwest. And Randy, I think we'll throw you.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm Randy Gale. I'm the Rocky Mountain Region Commissioner. Pablo is listed there. He's our Deputy Commissioner. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make it. I was coaching high school today, but I managed to make it here. So I'm super excited to be part of this panel and answer any questions that come up.
Ryan Taylor with the Heart of America Fastpitch League. I'm the commissioner. Super excited to be here. Based out of Kansas City, and I coach a travel ball team called the Aces.
Hey, I'm Jill Higdon, and I'm part of the leadership for Southeastern Fastpitch League, and I am an Alliance member.
I'm David McCorkle, Commissioner of the Texas Fastpitch League and Assistant Program Director of Bombers Fastpitch, and coach the 16U Gold team.
I'm Adam Dorman. I'm with the South Jersey Mystics, and I'm the Commissioner of the Northeast Fastpitch League.
I'm Chris Sebrin. I'm with USA Softball, and I'm the Director of National Teams and the main liaison working with the Alliance.
I'll go ahead and introduce Ryan Highfill is the USSSA National Director of Fastpitch. And yes, if that sounds funny coming out of my mouth, that was my position with USSSA. Ryan's a good friend of mine, and he's going to do a great job with USSSA. He is not able to make it, unfortunately. He is scheduling a tournament, as many of you can relate to. So I will pass it off to Krista.
Hey everybody, I'm Krista Crawford with Triple Crown Fastpitch. Very honored to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
And I appreciate it. I know you're going to get to hear a lot more from each of us. We just wanted to introduce the panel. We're going to go through, just so you guys know, we're going to go through from a team standpoint, from an event standpoint, and from an athlete standpoint. So you'll have a lot of opportunities to ask questions and hopefully pointed questions too. And we'll be able to call on the different commissioners for each league. But I would love, today's a big day for us. Hopefully several of you have already registered your team with a member league and with the Alliance. And we had an opportunity to meet the president of League Apps. And I was fired up right away because he's got a passion for youth sports, and they're doing some great things and have been an amazing partner throughout this entire process. And I know this is so new for everybody. So Jeremy, I'd love to toss to you. If you just want to give a quick overview and even some of the passion for the youth game that you shared with us.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Jamie. Hey, everyone. I know you're probably trying to place me. And no, I did not win any Olympic medals. Sorry, Natasha, but I was the two-time intramural wiffle ball champion at Georgetown in the 1990s. I have a T-shirt to prove it, so I'm proud of that. So not that far from softball, but I'm honored to be part of this call in this community. And my true background, which my dad was my baseball coach, which explains why I'm in technology, is that I think about how to build and innovate in industries, right? And how to disrupt industries. And so as part of my career, I was part of the advent of how technology changed the way insurance is sold online. So you can blame me for all those commercials that you see, or the way that financial services done online, or for that matter, digital media, digital music. I've been part of building multi-billion-dollar companies in those areas. And I've spent the past almost decade of my life focusing on youth sports for a few reasons. One, because sports has dramatically impacted my life. And two is because it is an industry that is undergoing massive transformation. And even prior to COVID, even prior to me knowing about the vision of the Alliance, I was giving speeches a year ago to professional leagues, to other audiences, talking about the changes that were going to happen with youth sports. And my prediction at the time, I self-described myself as a youth sports futurist, which turns out you need no qualifications to be able to claim. But what I was predicting was that the amount of change that we saw in youth sports over the past 10 years would be dwarfed about the amount of change that would happen over the next 5 years, right? And again, I spent my life thinking about disruption. And what I believe is with COVID happening, that's only accelerated that process. And one of the things I think that's really interesting is there's a quote by Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon, that's always resonated with me. Someone asked Jeff Bezos, when you think about innovation, right? What's going to be different about in the next 5 years? And how do you think about building innovations based on what's going to happen in 5 years? And he said, that's the wrong question to ask. It's not going to be what's different about 5 years. It's going to be what's going to be the same about the next 10 years, and build your innovation around that, right? And so here's what I know to be true, what we believe, what we've been building our business at League F's about what the world's going to look like in 10 years. One, people are still going to play sports, and that sport needs to be organized, right? And we're seeing that as people are so desperate in its absence to get back to playing again. The second thing is that there are 100,000 organizations that are organizing youth sports more broadly. Obviously, a subset of that is in Fastpitch. And that's not going to be the case forever. That there is a massive wave of consolidation that was already happening, and that is a trend that's been accelerated by COVID. And third is the prospect of innovation and technology is also something that's going to play a bigger and bigger part of that experience. And so the most sophisticated organizations that are the most innovative, that are embracing technology, they're the ones that are shaping and driving the future of youth sports. And that is very much the core belief of what we've tried to build our business at League F's. And so that is the opportunity I think all of you have, that COVID and this whole experience that we've had has accelerated the kinds of changes that are happening in youth sports. It's unleashed the power of new innovations. And if you study every period of disruption in American history, right, recessions and wars and everything else, out of the wave of those moments have come new kinds of innovations, new kinds of businesses, new kinds of models. And I think that this is what this represents. And one of our core beliefs is that the bottoms-up authority, the people that are closest to making youth sports happen, are the ones that are going to shape and influence its future. So when I think about innovation, when I think about where authority is coming from, it is you, right? You are the new authority. You have the influence. And by coming together, you're in a position to define and shape the game. And the best part about that is that it's not just about the business opportunity around sports. And more important than anything else, it's about the impact sports can have. And if we ever needed a reminder of the power of sports as a platform, in the best tradition of Muhammad Ali, right, of Billie Jean King, of Jackie Robinson, right, see what this moment is telling us, that right now sports is at the forefront of bringing this country together, of leading a conversation, of reminding us of the platform that we all have. And that gives us an immense opportunity, right? An immense opportunity to not only create experiences, but train young leaders, to bring people together at a time when our world and country feels very divided. Sports is a place where people come together. And the other thing is it gives us an immense responsibility, not just an opportunity, because we, in trusting in that, is really the future of kids, of our country, and of kids that are playing sports. And so when I met the folks from the Alliance, what I was so struck by is not only their vision for innovation, but their vision for impact, their recognition of the opportunity and responsibility they have to ultimately make this platform of Fastpitch, not just about great games and great experiences, but about really transforming lives. And by coming together, by filming our new kinds of partnerships, that's the opportunity in front of you. we're honored to be part of that. League Apps is eager to play our role. We're fortunate enough to work with Major League Baseball and the NBA and the NHL and the NFL flag and thousands of the top organizations around the country, including many of you. But we're particularly honored to be part of tonight. And I think you're going to look back at this moment and look back at this time and say, wow, this is the disruption that youth sports needed. This is where change is coming from. And we're excited to help make that happen. So congrats to you all. And more importantly, thank you for doing what you're doing in your local communities and the kind of impact you're having. Because this at a time of such disruption and a social disruption, we need to remind the power of coming together. And you're certainly a reminder of that. So thanks.
Jeremy, much appreciated. You used several words there that I hope define kind of what we're all doing, and the togetherness, the innovation. And I applaud your team because they have to put up with my crazy mind and where it goes. So I appreciate you being here and sharing with that. And you've mentioned some of the great partners, and that's what we're excited to grow into too. Tim, if you don't mind pulling up the map. I know we've got a lot of questions about what is this? How does this work? How do I get involved? And so from a team standpoint, just starting there, here's a look at across the country. And in the Pacific Northwest, we are working on that one. So if we have anybody from Washington, Idaho, or Oregon, we're coming. We're headed that way. And so to give you guys a representation of just how this started, and honestly, it probably started backwards, where a lot of the leagues were formed, and then this national umbrella comes in to try to bring it and bridge it all together. And actually, Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you just to give, Texas was the first to jump up and try something different. There had been national conversations going on, but Texas kind of paved the way and actually got to play this summer and work out some of the kinks for us. So Scott, if you don't mind giving just a background on how the Texas League started.
Yeah, Jamie, thank you so much. And I'm honored to be on here tonight with everybody and everybody that's out there watching. Yeah, it was just a quick synopsis of how it even came about was obviously COVID presented a situation that presented us some difficulties traveling around the country and doing what we normally did. Obviously, it disrupted our normalcy in regards to where and how we played the game. And Kevin Shelton, who's a good friend of mine, who has a very similar sized program, started conversations about just creating something internal that would be a little bit more beneficial for us and something we could do. We're really trying to find a way to play. And we came up with the concept of creating an internal league between our two programs. We had teams in different parts of the state of Texas and thought it would be a cool concept. And we'd keep stats, and we'd come up with some players of the week, and we thought it would be a cool thing. It was not something that happened in our sport normally. And that leaked out to a couple of other people that we knew in Texas. And the question immediately asked, well, can we be involved? And then that turned into 6 or 7 different people wanting to do the exact same thing we were doing. And we thought, well, why don't we just ask the state? Like, we've all got emails. Why don't we just kick this out to everybody? And we thought of an idea to put together a Zoom meeting, and we broke the Zoom call. Too many people got on. We had to, literally in real time, recreate a whole nother link and have the ability to have more people. We had over 400 people on the very first time. And we talked about what we wanted to do to come together and put together a league to play. And we put out a plan to play form on a Google Doc. And it was surreal watching in real time people sign up with the intent to play. And it grew over 450 teams wanting to do exactly what we were doing or talking about doing. And I think it was fuel to start the conversation. Tony and Mike and those guys were all great friends. We had been having conversations about ways to do things different, and it just kind of organically took off, Jamie. And it was really fun. And what we were able to do with the Texas Fastpitch League this summer in playing games that meant something every time we took the field and having an end game in sight. And really it goes back to what I said before, like we all started with a 0-0 record. Everybody in the state started with the exact same record, and it played itself out just like the College World Series in college softball postseason. And, from that moment on, once we started doing that, Ryan Taylor and those guys took the ball and started running with the Heart of America. And then we sit here today.
And it's really neat thing to look at and see the growth of this concept spread across the country. And when you put this many good people all in one room, you're bound to come up with something cool. And that's what we've come up with here. So that's the two-bit story behind it, Jamie. I hope that did it justice. But we could not be more excited in Texas about what we're doing with the Texas Fastpitch League and the Alliance.
No, I appreciate that, Scott. And that is, we talk a lot about unity, and we'll hit on several things of unity, but one is just the sharing of information. And there's been an open sharingness of points. How are you structuring your events? How are you doing this? And there's been weekly Zoom calls of just sharing information, because that's what was best, was to help each other. So I appreciate that. And that's how you've seen a lot of this happen. And so then the member leagues coming together, what does that mean? And so a lot of things, you'll hear level the playing field, earning your spot, earning points that seed you into a championship. So I'd like to toss it around to the commissioners, because I think we get a lot of questions about points. What's your schedule? What do those points mean? How does that get you into your championship? So I'm going to start, Ryan, I'm going to start with you and what you've seen, and how are you guys creating a point system for your teams, and what does that mean for those teams in earning points?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it, Jamie. I think the big thing is just keeping it simple, creating that competitive environment that everybody has touched on, but something that everybody can understand, right? And it's not a complicated process. So for us, it's really simple. We don't call it pool games anymore. We call it league games. So when you're at HFL specific events or partnering with these other tournaments, I think like Tulsa Elite today, they're going to be a big partner of ours and what they're doing. So Jeff is going to work with us, and those separate tournament providers will set up league games for us. So you'll get a winning percentage out of your league games, and then you'll also get points for bracket wins and then your bracket finish. And the bonus points for the bracket finish are going to be based on how many teams are in that tournament. And that's kind of how we'll figure it out. And so at the end of the year, those teams will have a point system, and the tiebreaker will be your winning percentage in league games. And that will seat you for our fall and our summer championship. And for the HFL, our bids to the Alliance Championship will be through the fall and summer events. And that's kind of how we'll offer it. But again, it's all those teams being on a level playing field. They're all going to have the same access to get points, and you're going to decide how you're seated in it. And even if a team happened to say, hey, come into the league late and not get very many bonus points, they would still have the opportunity to play in our event, in our championship event. They just wouldn't have the same amount of points. So they may be seated 80th out of 100 or whatever it may be. But again, this is going to be an opportunity for everybody to get points and earn a chance to play for a championship.
Yeah, that's what I like a lot. And we hear, and I forget sometimes of just how simple we need to keep it, because I like to look for the future and what all of this means. But sometimes just simple. And the idea of leveling the playing field, where literally you're starting 0-0 and you can earn your way. I'm a competitor. I want to get out there and win. And I think this is what that sets up for, is it gives that team. David, I'm going to throw it over to you, Coach McCorkle. And you guys obviously you were the first ones to come out, and unity is a big thing we talk about. And your schedule was pretty inclusive of a lot of different associations. Can you talk about your event schedule and how you guys assign points in the TFL?
Yeah, our event schedules, we have a Texas State kind of fast pitch calendar that anybody can submit an event through, that we have on our website. And, if somebody's interested in making their event a TFL event, then they just submit it to our committee. And then we just look at it. And we haven't really said no much, because really all you got to do is have, at least 50% of your teams TFL teams. And so, if there's at least half the teams involved are in the league, then it's worth us pulling points out of that, because we could use pool games, and we could also use the bracket results. So, we're wide open. We're not looking at any specific events. There's different levels of events that provide different levels of points. Especially now that we've separated into tier 1 and tier 2 based on results from the end of the summer. So we're kind of really flexible on all the events that are possible to be a part of our calendar.
And just to clarify with Scott or David, with events, because I see this question and I know that comes up, are we replacing PGF, ASA, Triple Crown? How did you guys use the different associations?
We worked our calendar within. Go ahead, Scott.
No, go ahead, man.
We really worked our calendar kind of around that. So, our first initiative was to get with Krista and Dave and Elliot and try to make sure that we're not scheduled on top of them, to work with them. We even worked with trying to, to get their fireworks here to Texas. We, got with PGF and we were going to use, theirs as a possible just event and work our TFL championship around them. We, in fact, weren't going to even have a championship. We were going to have just a league and then, see where we go from there. But it happened to be to where, things didn't work out for PGF. So we were able to schedule our championships on that weekend or on that week, I guess. And it kind of got lucky that it worked out for us. But far as, we're trying to work with everybody. We're not trying to be in place of anybody.
Well, and to add to that, Jamie, I think that's the purpose of the Alliance, is to bring together the concept of working with multiple sanctioning bodies that already exist and events that already exist that are in place already, with the hopes that by bringing the TFL or the CFL, the HFL into that structure of those already ready-made events, that we can create, making those games mean more and tying them into our league. And I would think that if you asked, say, Jonathan Lample, who's a big Triple Crown employee here in Texas and runs some of the biggest events in Texas as far as Triple Crown goes, I think he would tell you that the TFL enhanced his events and brought more teams into those events. I think a whole nother division was created in one event, which was Southwest National. So I think you're just seeing that byproduct of the Alliance and coming together and doing things to make the event structure better, make the teams have more on the line, and then creating the concept that the TFL brings out all that together and gives points and standings and structure to it has been really cool.
One of the things we talk a lot about is stats as well. And I think Scott hit on it with the Biloxi Blues, but that's going to be a key component as well. I know a question is going to come up. How are we going to keep track of stats? And how do we know that someone's not, given advantage? Hey, guess what? If you've played college softball and your SID is in charge, sometimes it happens at that level too. So it's not going to be completely right. The idea is we're naming some specific categories and start to get historical data on these games where you can have a home run leader. You can be the all-time home run leader in the Rocky Mountain Fastpitch League. That means something and rewarding something on the field of play, both at a team level and an individual level. Talking about seedings and championships, I'm going to toss it over to the Southeast. And how are you guys using your point system to help into your league championship events? Jeremy or Jill?
Yeah, I'm going to let Jeremy answer this. He's said it many times. He'll get it right.
Sorry, I was trying to type and answer a question in the Q&A. I thought Jill was going to handle it. So in the Southeast Fast Pitch League, we are any game, regardless of association or affiliation, in an event with public results that are posted. Any game against two Southeast Fast Pitch Leagues teams will count toward league standings. That's if you're playing in the Southeast, if you're playing in Texas, if you're playing in Colorado, if you're playing in California and it happened to match up with the Southeast Fast Pitch League team, that game will count towards league standings. Our point system, teams will be awarded 3 points for a win, 1 point for a tie, and your point total will be divided by your total number of Southeast Fast Pitch League games that you've played. So that will essentially give you a winning percentage weighted point total. I came up with a phrase for it, and I don't remember what it is. I think it's a weighted team score. And the weighted team score will put you in standings in your age group, and the standings will be used for seeding into our fall championships, seeding into our summer championships, and berths to nationals will be awarded from our fall championships, summer championships, and an early summer qualifier. Is that good?
Well done. I see we're getting a lot of questions in regards to membership and to what does this mean. And so I'm going to actually jump over to that. So what does this mean? As I mentioned, we went live today. So, and it starts at the team level of being able to register your team. And so, Tim, I don't know if you can pull that up for me, please. And then be ready, Chris. I'm coming to you next. But what does it mean for teams when you register? You're going to register for your league. And as we showed the map, it starts there. So you register for your member league. Member league is going to become a common terminology right now. So when you sign up for that, now you're playing in your league. But the key is the individual athlete and the individual coaches. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the membership benefits, but that's the exciting part. And part of that individual membership is individual insurance through USA Softball, as well as registration and support of the national team program. So Chris Sebring, who's with us, if you don't mind, Chris, just talking about kind of how this came about and how this helps individual insurance and what that means in regards to team insurance.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. You know, it came through obviously just a lot of discussions with what started and was created with Texas and then the HFL, just communication. You said it the other night, there's a lot of change going on, and sometimes change is hard. I know this is something different than USA Softball has ever done. So we're really excited about the opportunity to work with the Alliance and create these opportunities for teams and athletes. But with your membership to the Alliance, that includes membership to USA Softball and insurance for both athletes and coaches. Also for coaches, it includes your background check through USA Softball and the ability to take Safe Sport as a requirement through our platform. So again, as you join the different leagues across the U.S. and then start joining the Alliance, you know, emails will be communicated once we receive that information for coaches, and we'll send welcome emails so you can start your background check, start your Safe Sport stuff. For coaches that are already a part of our program, the good thing is our system will double check that information. So if it's something where you've already gone through the entire Safe Sport process, it may just be the process of doing the refresher course and things like that. So again, you're not having to redo something you've already maybe done the first time with all three lessons for Safe Sport. Again, we'll be keeping up with that stuff. We'll be communicating with the Alliance and the member leagues about what's going on and what we're seeing. And again, you know, just sharing information. If you have a question or comments or concerns, let them know, let us know. We're working well together with potential teams and leagues or coaches that are already members, and how can we work through those situations, and we're working through them on a case-by-case basis. But we're just really excited about the opportunities that are before all of us and the chance to work together on this.
I appreciate that, Chris. And I know we get a lot of questions, and maybe somebody has already bought insurance, and you are going to see when you become a member, there is a fee for the individual athlete and the individual coach. Part of that fee does include the individual insurance. Part of that also is a small portion in support of our national team program. And we'll hit on that a little bit later, but that's the vision of the youth national team program is growing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I think it's a 12 and under, 15 and under, and 18 and under. Is that?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's actually a 12 and under co-ed, which is something we've not elected to participate in yet. But through the WBSC, we'll have a 14U qualifier, a 15U World Cup, 17U World Cup qualifier, and then an 18U World Cup. So again, many more opportunities for youth athletes to participate internationally as we move forward.
I appreciate that. And so there is a small portion of the fee is part of support of the national team program. And you can see, as Tasha mentioned, our two-time Olympian there. And there's a lot of value in us supporting our sport at all levels. And you're going to hear us talk a lot about professional softball, about the national team program. And that's a vision as well in regards to the Alliance, about supporting all levels. I hope you guys have been watching the Athletes Unlimited. It's a little bit different, but it's been fun to watch on TV right now. And it's on ESPN and they're playing live, which is really cool. But that's the idea of this too, is to support all of it. And the other part of the membership fee, just so you guys know, I feel like I'm selling, but it goes to access, right? Why do we become a member of anything? To be a part of a community, to have access. If you guys saw that video, that we were out in California last week, Delaney Spalding was a part of that. Tasha was a part of that. Taylor Van Zee, who just graduated from Washington. Amber Freeman, who played at Arizona State. Amanda Kamakona, who played at UCLA. And that's just that was 3 days of filming. The goal is to go around. We're bringing more athletes to the table and giving access to this community. We're building a youth athlete advisory committee for each league as well, so we can recognize the leaders off the field as well as the leaders on the field. So that portion, the membership covers you for the year, and it does entail a lot more than just the insurance. But I know that's a key part, because that gets you practicing and gets you playing. And then the other portion is the coach side of it too. And with coaches, they get insurance, they get the background check, and they get to be part of a community as well. If you guys saw the panel right there of coaches, if I calculated correctly, that's almost 100 years of experience. I'm not calling you guys old by any means, just experience between the 4 coaches on there of youth coaching. And it's a lot different to hear Tony Rico talk about bunting or first and thirds for a 14-year-old than it is to hear from Coach Walton talking about that, right? It's a different level of athletes. Mike told a story about a 12 and under and bunting and game strategy. So you guys having the opportunity to connect with each other from a coach level is a huge part of this membership. So that is that's a big aspect of why and what these individual memberships are. And then also just the overall operations of this. I'm excited. You aren't seeing the full website yet because it's being built, but we're looking at leaderboards. We're looking at stats. We're looking at news, videos, just all kinds of educational materials as well that goes into being a member of this. I just went off on my rant there. So talking about the going back to the leagues and with the championship. So I'll throw it out to one of the commissioners because I know this is a big question. Or Scott, I'm going to throw it to you. What does this all lead to? So I play in my league championship. I win it. What does that mean, and why is that important with the Alliance of bringing this together?
Well, I'm assuming, Jamie, you want me to talk how it leads into the championship event in the end of the summer? Yeah. So, I think one of the biggest challenges, and I had this even with our own Bomber teams in our own program, was, not a lot of them got locked out of the process of being able to compete for a national championship. So that's the beauty of the leagues themselves, is it gives a level playing field for teams to earn an opportunity to earn their way to the national championship. And so each individual league across the country will be allocated a certain number of berths to their particular league itself. And then that league will determine how it allocates those berths. The one thing it doesn't have the luxury of doing is giving them to anyone. They have to earn them. And so I can speak for Texas. We've got 4 of our, I think we're getting 12 is what I think that Texas is getting allotted. And 4 of those berths will be allotted in our fall championship in each age division. And then I believe 4 more are going to be allocated. I think we've locked this totally down for the summer, but the intent is possibly 4 more would happen in an event, a qualifier prior to the start of our summer season. And then the last 4 would happen in our TFL championship that would take place in the summer right before the Alliance Fastpitch Championship Series. So teams get to compete in their league, earn points to position themselves to give themselves the best chance to win and earn one of the berths that is allotted to their particular state's league and advance to the championship that's going to take place in the summer. And it's going to be incredible when you start thinking about the teams and the process that they'll go through to secure one of those spots to play and compete for a national championship. And I think it's been what's missing from our sport for many years. There's a handful of us in that 100 years of stuff you saw. I was the young one in that group, just so we're real clear on that. But I remember back when you would go to a qualifier and there'd be 150 teams for 6 spots. I'm gonna tell you, the softball in those events, qualifying for a gold national berth was incredible. And this brings that back into play. And I think I know college coaches are appreciating that more than anything else about what's taking place here, is bringing the competitive nature back to our sport. And that's what these leagues and that's what the alliance all being, where it ties it all in, where you can compete to get to the national championship is going to be incredible. And I think we've got people asking about the championship. Jamie, is that something you want to? I'll pass that back to you.
Yeah, and to your point there, can you guys mute, please? Thank you. To your point, Scott, I just had a call. One of my former NPF teammates, who's the head coach at Cal, called me and said, all right, what is this? And said, can you please have the athletes compete? When I'm getting these players at the college level, they don't know how to compete and finish games. And that's the idea of, playing, of preparing them. I know you're all in this to prepare our athletes on and off the field. And a big part of that on the field is that competitive play. And so even from a championship perspective of earning your way in there, from a regional, super regional, matching up a team, figuring out how to beat a team twice is a huge deal. So when we talk about our championship format at the end of the year, you've got a regional where you've got 4 teams in a pool or 5 teams in a pool. You win your way out of that. Now you match up against one other team and you got to beat them twice. Figuring out how to beat a pitcher twice is not easy. Then going into an Elite 8 and then into the championship series. And I know you guys are asking dates, locations, all those specifics. There's a big reason why Krista is on this phone call, why Chris is on this phone call, and why Ryan from ESSA was going to be on this phone call as well. There's great conversations going on just about strategic partnerships and using our strengths here from an event standpoint. So we are looking at the end of the July for our national, for that championship, call it the culminating event, where the top performers of each league will match up against each other in a 6-day event overall. The reason why the dates aren't out there exactly yet is just making sure that they're all accounted for and making sure that we figure that out with our facilities for anybody who's ever hosted an event. So that we're gonna put all that out there, but we are looking at the end of July, and there are conversations with partners here as well of putting this culminating event, and the goal is to reward our teams. So if you win at your league level, you're one of the top performers, we want to have a place to play. We want to recognize the top individual performers of the year. We want to recognize the top teams of the year. And at the end of the day, you're going to fight it out. And at the tier 1 level, the top 64 teams are going to fight it out. And what we've done, and Scott mentioned it, but that's from overall 64 teams at tier 1. So when we take those 64 berths, we have to divide it amongst each region. And so we looked at total teams. We had to look at some historical data. Obviously, we're starting from scratch. So figuring out how many berths to give to the CFL, to the Northeast League, to the Rocky Mountain League. And so all the commissioners got together, spoke on behalf from their leadership, and have released an amount of berths that we're going to give.
Hey, Jamie, there's a really good question that I wanted you to answer live. It's asked, it's 5 years from now, and you are talking about the significance and purpose of the alliance with the 12U team and young female athletes. What are you telling them?
That is a good question. Tim, do you mind going back to the speaker view, please? Thank you. From that, I like the vision question with this as well. And giving information, talking about 12U specifically is interesting in regards to that athlete's development. Now that athlete is going to spend 5 years, hopefully, in league play and getting to chart her growth, getting to have an opportunity to compete throughout that. So she's going to learn a lot on the field from competition, but the resources that we're pouring in. And Tasha, I'll even throw it over to you on this one, as we've talked about educational resources for different levels of athletes. So in your thoughts, how do we help that 12-year-old?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've talked about in having these conversations on how do we invest back into the athletes. And I think looking back on my personal career, talking to past teammates, is how are we being challenged and how are we being developed, not only on the field, but off the field. And that's one of the things that I'm most excited about is, how are we pouring into a 12 and under girl? How are we empowering her? How are we teaching her how to conduct an interview? How are we teaching her how to speak? How are we teaching her how to advocate for herself? And I think that those are all the things that I'm excited about, because for me, growing up, it was literally about bats and balls. It paid off. It was great. But I think there's so much when we have things in perspective, the game is a small piece of that. How are we getting them prepared beyond college? There's so much emphasis put on recruiting and getting our athletes to that collegiate level, which is super important. But I think now going through the ranks, it's like there's this big fall off once we finish college. If we're lucky enough to play on the national team, if we're lucky enough to play professionally, and if we want to stay in the game, how are we doing that? So I think it's so important, like at the beginning, that we're empowering these young girls to be these strong, confident women off the field more than just on the field. So that's what excites me about being a part of this.
I love it. And I'm right there with you. I know it's very important. We talk about on the field, and I know that's why a lot of you are here. But if we dig down and think about why are we involved in this, and getting back to the athlete and the development, and that's where this is so much more. I know it's important. They have to compete. We want them to compete, and we want to put them in the best environment to compete as well. But pouring into those young girls and preparing them, and it's going to go beyond that as well. Tasha and I meet weekly with Francesca Anea and talking about just how can we help with all levels of athletes. And I'm sure if you guys think about a lot of your former players, a lot of them are working at different levels in the sport. How do we get them back involved? How do we help them, as you see a lot of them launching courses, teaching lessons? They want to open up a facility. They want to start an organization. Where do you go for that? Well, now they have a place to go to with this. And that is the goal. We talk about life after softball. Weird that it happens, but it has to happen. And this is a great resource center for helping those life transitions with the athletes. So when we talk about putting the athlete first, it is on the field, but there's a lot of stuff that the Alliance can do for those female athletes off the field as well. I know we're running short on time, Tim. And I want to make sure that our questions are answered. So even to our commissioners, if you're looking through some of the questions here on the Q&A, and they're specific to your league, because it looks like we've got some questions. Obviously, in certain parts of the country, we're not playing. And so what does that mean? I saw a question in regards to fall high school, and I know that's been addressed. That's a big reason why we have regionalized. In fact, Randy, you'd be a perfect person being in Colorado and just coaching a high school game. How are you guys accounting for having states in your league that play a fall high school?
Yeah, so thanks, Jamie. So what we've done is we identified a local tournament here that happens in the fall that we were going to use as a points collector as one of your possible playing events that you could collect points in. Recognizing that we really don't play a whole lot right until October is over. We've also decided that within our league, and we're all working together with the other leagues as well, that there will be cross play points awarded. So if our comp teams get together and they decide to travel out of state and they play in a fellow league's tournament where they're going to play like league members, then we're going to award points to them based on their finishes in league play, pool play, and bracket finishes for that event. So that way we're expecting to start events in March where they'll start collecting points. Given our weather, we can get in March. We try and get in something in February. Because folks around here are always trying to be that first time out on the dirt for us, coming out of winter, out of hibernation. So, that's how we're going to do it here. We also have, we're looking at doing potentially a 10 and 12 and under fall championship where they can collect some points and possible berth out of that the end weekend of October. It doesn't affect the youngers right as much, right? 12s, 10s, 12s, and some 14s can play in fall. And so we want to try and give them an event, and then any fall events that currently happen now that we think we have enough league teams that it makes sense to award points for that event, we're going to allow that to be one of the events that if they finish well enough in their pool league or they finish well enough at the final bracket placing, then we'll allow that to be one of the events that counts towards their summer stats and standings.
I appreciate that, Randy. I know several leagues have that, right, of battling different schedules. So just so you guys know that is addressed, and that's the purpose of the regionalized play. Would a rep from California want to quickly address, because if the state of California doesn't open up this fall,
I saw those. So for everybody that asked that question is, we have decided to not put a detriment or put a loss to the point system. We want to instill the point system merely as a timing so we can get the bugs out of the system, make sure that we're running smoothly, and make sure that it's done properly. Very similar to what the Texas League got to go through this year. There will be points because some of us are going to travel, but because we thought that most teams are not going to have the ability to get around the country like some of the larger teams will, we didn't want to hinder them in their championship quest. So we felt that it was best in the fall until we can move into the spring, find out what's going to happen here in our state. We travel a lot. We go to Arizona all the time, and we're going to have to travel just to be seen. The points will not be held against you or be a plus for you, but yet they will be awarded for the teams we play. I know that we're going to Texas, we're going to Oklahoma, we're going to different events in Florida, and the teams that are playing us are going to be able to garner points by playing us. The California team just won't be able to take advantage of awarding of those points.
I appreciate it. As you guys can tell, Coach Stith is multitasking there in the cage. And I want to address a couple things as we're getting a lot of questions. I think the most important is the people on this panel are accessible, and that's key. And when we talk about, because I'm looking at a lot of questions from the Alliance, remember at the team level and at the event level, your first step is the league, going to your commissioner. And I would imagine all the commissioners on here are making themselves accessible. And so when you have particular questions about how points, events, and stats, make sure that you're reaching out to your commissioners from your member leagues. From an Alliance standpoint, we're up here making sure that we are leveling the playing field and we're holding true to our core values. And I would just ask everybody, if anybody has ever helped change a culture, it takes time, right? And it takes effort. And it takes a mindset too. So we're working on changing a culture. And I think we've got a lot of passionate people who care about the right things and who are putting in a lot of time for this too. But also we do want to hear from you. So please make sure that you are reaching out to your commissioners at the team level. And also I do want to make sure, because I know we have some people on here who host events. And so if you have events and you're figuring out how do I get involved, same thing, please reach out to your commissioner. They all would love to hear from you there and address those. Tim, do you mind going to the last part? And if anybody has This one is important, just of how you register. There's the link. And as I mentioned, to get your team involved, it starts at the member level, and then your individual athletes will become members of the Alliance. And so once you register your team and you invite your individual athletes and invite your coaches, then they will become members. After that point, once we've collected that data from each of your registered athletes and coaches, the Alliance is going to send that over to USA Softball to complete the process of insurance and background checks. You can go to the next one. So just next steps and action items. Please do reach out to your league commissioners and make sure, if you've got questions, if you want to know how certain things work, if you want your event to be involved, then please reach out to them. I think it's really important. We will send out FAQs, and I know this is new to everybody, and we understand that, and we welcome your questions. Your questions make us better of getting that information out. So do please continue to send that out. From an Alliance standpoint, the key for us was getting that registration launched today. We will continue to send out. I do think it's important that you guys know one of the benefits of being a member. Actually, if you sign up before September 9th, all athletes are going to receive an offer from Major League Baseball. So I've had conversations with leadership at Major League Baseball. I know Tasha has as well. They are very interested. It's a woman, Kim Ng, who's very passionate about getting involved in softball. And so they've made an offer to all Alliance athletes for free MLB TV for the rest of the season, and also their premium app too. So once your individual athletes register and pay for the Alliance, they're going to get an email, and it'll have that information of how they can go ahead and get that offer, which is pretty cool. I'm sure the parents will appreciate that as well. And we just ask that you be a part of it. I say the movement, this is inclusive. I know I'm getting questions all the time. As I mentioned, we're all growing here, and the key for us is the athlete. How do we be mindful of the families? How do we be mindful of the athlete? How do we put her in a great opportunity for her to succeed on and off the field? And at the same time, a key point with that is educating our coaches and educating and developing our parents as well. So there are a lot of benefits to being a membership. It's what gets me the most excited, is to pour back into our sport. And this is just the start, you guys. Once we align at this level and we get this structure going, we're going to have so many opportunities to pour into the sport. And I hope each of you bring your strengths and bring your voice to it, because that's really what this whole Alliance and unity effort is all about. Before I close it out, does anybody want to add anything that I might have missed in closing here?
I just want to bring up here that, we've had a lot of questions answered. We're not going to have a chance to get to all of them here, but we do have a pretty extensive FAQ sheet that will be coming out. We'll also have all the questions and answers in printed form if you missed this, as well as a taped version of this that you can send to anybody else. So if you were kind of multitasking, like I think we all were, answering questions and going back and forth, you can watch again and also go back and read those answers. So thank you to everybody that asked all those great questions. If we didn't get to your questions, reach out to your commissioner. We'll get that FAQ. That question will be answered.
I'd like to add something too. Like, if you didn't get your question answered, make sure you check each league's website, because if, for us, we're going to post the Q&A on our website. So if you want immediate access to that, as soon as we have that, we'll get that posted, and you can go there, see if your question is already answered. And if not, then, please reach out and we'll do our best to give you the answer that you're looking for.
Tony?
My message is just to all the coaches out there, speaking to you, thinking about what this is really about. It's about you. How many of you have lost players to a team that could do more for that player, right? We had more college contacts? How many of you have lost players to a team that had a berth or they had a spot in a particular tournament? How many of you would love to win more big games? How many of you would love to run events? How many of you would love to run your own organizations, start your own brand? How many of you would love to design and sell your own apparel? How many of you would love to run your own facility? How many of you would love to work full-time inside softball? We've been listening to you. If 90% of the feedback that I was getting and we were getting is that you're all hitting your heads are hitting the pillow and you have peace of mind on Sunday night, then we're not here, right? We're all doing something else right now, but that's not the case. The frustration, the anger, and all these things that have been, kind of building up, we have an opportunity to do something. All of these people on this call have all of those things. We have the burst. We have those things. I've never called a player and told them what we could do for them and why they need to play for us. So we want to enable you. And I hope you understand that that's sincere. So hopefully you got another example tonight that this is a lot of a little bit of everything, but it's not any one particular thing. So the Alliance is about full service, a GPS for players and coaches to help you navigate where it is that you're trying to get. We need to stop the frustration. You have a voice, and it's time for you to be a part of this, be part of the change. Jeremy started this meeting with the word disruption, and that is my favorite word because I want to disrupt the hell out of this industry, but I want to disrupt it respectfully, and I want to disrupt it inclusively with all of you. So let's do this. I feel like I'm right before a big ball game right now, but I don't know if I'm going to get mercied or we're going to win a championship. I'm just ready for this damn game. So let's do this, people. All right, let's figure it out. There you go, Jamie.
I love it. Krista or Chris, I want to make sure if you have an opportunity, if you'd like to say anything.
We are just excited to be a part of what you guys are doing, and you guys all talk about it being a movement, and it is, and it's very disruptive. It's exciting. It's scary. It's fun. Just all those things. And just from a Triple Crown standpoint, we love to run events that rock. And I think, Alliance has called upon us to be a part of that and use our strengths there. So, we're looking forward to continuing to run the events that we currently do, to be a part of some other neat and exciting opportunities. And so, we're excited. So thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Just to touch on something that you talked about earlier with the WBSC, and obviously COVID affected all of us with probably a little bit more time than we had all anticipated having over the course of the summer. And as we started looking at what are we going to do with the U14, U15, U17, U18, and how can we do a better job of finding athletes across the country, because it was very hard to get selected for some of those teams. And we started again communicating with several people on this call tonight and talked about what can we do different, and we're looking at a different model for that. It's going to be a high performance program. It's going to give athletes across the country a fair and equitable opportunity to participate and be identified. And several members of this group are a part of our national committee that we're working on right now for that. And we hope to have more information real soon about that. But it's a big part of what's going to be the future to help us field those teams. So we're excited about, again, communicating with all parties. So thank you.
All right. Well, I thank you to each of the individuals who were on this call, not just tonight, but for also we've put in a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I appreciate, and it's not just the people on this call either. There's a lot of people that have put in time and effort, and not just this year, for everything that you've put into the sport. And I really appreciate everybody who joined us tonight. I hope that it helped answer some questions. And I do hope it kind of leaves some more questions, because we want to stay in communication with everybody. And this is a collaborative effort. It's going to take all of us. So thank you everybody for being a part of it. We've got our website, we've got our social media, and we'll be following up with everyone, but have a great night, and thank you.